You all, when I saw this headline, I laughed and laughed and laughed because is it not funny? Like, hey, okay, people are complaining about hunger, people are complaining about inflated prices of goods in the market, and now you're asking people to go on hunger strike, to pray to God, to pray to God for guidance. Is that not funny? Like, I don't understand. It is only in Nigeria that people will go to churches and pray for what, the government is obviously supposed to provide. Things like water security, things like that should be provided for, by the government is what people go to churches this day, to be kabashing and praying about. Whereas in other advanced countries, you don't even have to, pray for these things because it is what the government has already provided for their people in the country. For example, there is the unemployment pay for people who do not have jobs. There is the, what's it called? Is it food card? These things that the government give, food stamp. Yeah, it's called food stamp that the government give to people that cannot afford to buy food. But in Nigeria, there are no provisions for things like that in my country. There are no provisions for things like that. If you don't have money to buy food, now you're on your own. But yet the government is asking people to go on hunger strike. People are praying to God to provide food, to help them. People are suffering. People are going through hunger and poverty. Yet the Tinubu government is asking people to go on hunger strike, to fast and pray for God's guidance and for the government. Can you imagine that? Is that not ironical? Is that not even ironical on its own? Like, gosh. Anyway, guys, before we delve right into the details of today's news, if this is your first time here, you have not subscribed to this channel, what are you doing? Please go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button. Most importantly, turn on the post notification bell so that you'll be the first person to get notified each time we upload a new video. Lastly, please leave your opinions in the comment section below. The President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, through the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, is even Ministry of Agriculture that is carrying out this program. People that are supposed to be responsible for agriculture and food security, of how the country would have food security, they are the one calling for this divine intervention. Anyway, moving on. Called for divine intervention amid Nigerians' deepening food insecurity crisis. However, Newsroom NAIJA reports that the ministry abruptly suspended the spiritual initiative just days before it was scheduled to begin. Probably somebody somewhere went to meet them that, it be like say on our head, no correct. How can you people that are supposed to be in charge of agriculture, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, you are the one asking people to pray for intervention. Can you imagine? So when you pray, it is God that would supply fertilizer to farmers who do not have fertilizer. I mean, it is God that will plant the corn and the maize. I don't understand though, because this is just, I don't know, only in Africa would you find, this kind of thing. Because people just think it's all about religion and prayer. Religion and prayer. Meanwhile, these people that God has placed in position that are supposed to do that's supposed to do the right thing, bring out positive policies that are supposed to impact the lives of their citizens positively, they are not doing it. And they're asking their citizens to go and pray. The other day, the Nigerian army also released a statement that it is a spiritual warfare. You people should go and pray. The people that are supposed to secure lives and property, they are the ones asking you to pray to God for security. Although God is, the ultimate, person that can give security of lives and property. God is the ultimate. But notwithstanding, you don't leave your duty. You don't leave what you're supposed to do and tell people to go and pray instead. It just doesn't work that way. Moving on. An internal circular dated June 11, 2025, and obtained by the Whistler, directed staff of the ministry to observe a 3-day fasting and prayer program on June 16, 23, and 30. The notice, signed by the Director of Human Resources Management, Mrs. Adebayo Modupe, invited all staff to solemn prayer session for God's guidance and success in supporting the federal government food security efforts. Why not do your own first and allow God to do his part? Why not play your own part as humans? Then you allow God to play his own part. You guys, what do you see about, this trend in most government offices now in Nigeria, where I'm not saying that people should not pray. Prayer is very important. We cannot displace, the place of prayer. Prayer is really very important. But how do you see government workers in ministries, in schools, using the time that they're supposed to be at their workplace, using the time that they are being paid for, because if it were to be in advanced countries where people are being paid hourly, those times are paid for already. But in Nigeria, we don't do hourly pay, you know, which is why people can still do other things. Why on the clock? Why still on the time that they are paid for? I don't know if you understand me. What do you think about, people organizing prayer sessions, people organizing, fasting and prayer in government establishments, in government enterprises? What do you all think about that? Let me know in the comment sections what your thoughts are on that. Like I said, I'm of the opinion that, prayer is very important. You cannot displace, you cannot displace the place of prayer in every individual's life, but you can do that, privately, or you can do that before the resumption of work individually. But you organizing fasting and prayer in the place of work, it just is, it gives me, I don't know, it just feels somehow, because every individual, every citizen of Nigeria is already religious. We are very religious. We go to church. You have the personal prayer. You go to church and all of that. And yet, they still call for prayer sessions in workplace. Let me have your thoughts, guys, on that. But moving on, the notice signed by Director of Human Resource Management, Mrs. Adebayo Modupe, invited all staff to Solemn prayer session for God's guidance and success in supporting the federal government's food security efforts. This is to invite all staff of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to Solemn prayer session for God's guidance and success in supporting the government's efforts to achieve food security, the memo reads. Theme, Divine Intervention for Protection and National Development. Please kindly come fasting on Mondays, 16th, 23rd, and 30th June 2025. The prayer sessions were to be held at 12 p.m. in Conference Hall B of the ministry's headquarters in Area 11, Abuja. The directive was issued to all levels of ministry personnel, including directors, deputy directors, assistant directors, and value chain desk officers. However, when the Whistler reached out to the acting director of information, Aja Ekemefuna, on Friday, it confirmed that the exercise had been suspended indefinitely, though no reason was given for the reversal. I am directed to inform all staff that the prayer session scheduled to commence on Monday have been postponed till further notice. All staff should kindly take note. The follow-up notice reads, the spiritual move comes amid dire warnings from the World Food Programme, WFP, which projects that 33.1 million Nigerians will face food insecurity by 2025. According to the WFP, the number of people experiencing emergency levels of phase 4 of food insecurity is expected to rise by 80% from 1 million in 2024 to 1.8 million in 2025. Although no populations are classified as catastrophe phase 5, those in emergency phase 4 are expected to increase significantly, the WFP said. Trend analysis for the Northeast, particularly Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states, showed persistently high levels of food insecurity since 2018. The crisis has been compounded by insecurity, making farming nearly impossible in many communities. Restoring peace in the Northeast is critical for us to build pathways to production and achieve the Northeast potential as the food basket of a country, said David Stevenson, WFP country director. The report also warned of a looming malnutrition emergency, particularly for 5.4 million children and 800,000 pregnant and breastfeeding women at risk in 6 states, including Sokoto, Katsina, and Zamfara in the northwest. Of those, 1.8 million children would suffer severe acute malnutrition and would need immediate medical nutrition therapy. Children are at the center of a food insecurity crisis and face irreversible consequences, both physical and cognitive, and potentially even death, said Christian Mondwet, UNICEF country representative. It is our moral imperative to ensure that the right of every child is adequate food and nutrition. So adequate food and nutrition is upheld. The Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, also weighed in with its representative in Nigeria and ECOWAS, Dominic Kofi, affirming the agency's commitment to long-term solutions. What are your thoughts and your opinions? Because obviously, Nigerian solution to all of these problems and the rising insecurity, food insecurity, is to pray. Is to pray. And I know that prayer works, but it's not like magic. Prayer is not magic. If you don't do your part, If you don't do what you're supposed to do as humans and then you sit at home and start praying, it will not work. You have to also do your own part and let God, do his own part. Before we go, my people, let's take a look at some of the reactions we got online. The first comment I have here is from Prince, who says, no need to fast or ask God to forgive Satan, save our forests from bandits, hunger will disappear. Meanwhile, anyone else notice how thrift fund is suddenly trending again? I've seen a couple of people say they got paid fast. Thunder fire you. All these Ponzi schemes everywhere. And it's because of rising insecurity and poverty. That's why all of these foreigners, they will come to Nigeria and do all of this Ponzi scheme and run away without getting apprehended. I think the government should do something about that. Bernard says, this government is a joke. We have been fasting for years without results. Meanwhile, have been hearing about what's the problem about this thrift fund. Oyinlola says, after promoting adverts on all media house that food price has reduced by 40% in Nigeria, these people want Nigeria to pray and fast to seek God intervention for food crisis. Yes, so Chidi says, nothing past God though. On Aduwel APC, at least 90 days of fasting and prayer will help Nigeria. At least you will save food instead of going to the market to buy food. If you go on 90 days fasting, you will not buy food, or the food you eat will be minimal. So that way, there's food security, Abi. Instead of totally going on hunger, you are reducing your food intake. At least you slim down. Those are the benefits. Moving on. God bless my pharmacist. Okay. Lastly, let's take one last comment from Kolawole Balogun, who says, no need for any fasting. Just get rid of the bandits from the forest so that farmers can return safely to their farms. No amount of fasting will remove the bandits from the forest. Fasting to end hunger is nothing but double hunger. You all, let's have your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section. Thank you very much for always listening and watching. I'll see you all in my next video.